Hey, for the past few weeks, we've been looking at the 7 principles that we believe you need to know at this stage of your life. These 7 principles or checkpoints, if followed, they'll guide you where you want to go in life. And the truth is, we've talked about a whole lot in the series, and it's a lot to digest. I mean, it's too much to digest in 7 weeks. But nevertheless, these principles are extremely important. I could tell you story after story after story of times in my own life where these principles saved me or would have saved me if I just applied them from tons and tons of heartache. However, while all these principles are important and hold a very special piece of truth, if you had to, you could build your life on 2 of these checkpoints, and the others would really just come naturally. I'm not saying that all of these aren't important. What I am saying is that there's 2 of these 7 that if you get them, the other 5 checkpoints, they'll be easier to live out. See, the problem is these 2 checkpoints are the hardest ones to live out. The first core checkpoint is actually the first checkpoint, authentic faith. Do you remember it? It said, God can be trusted. He will do what He's promised to do. That if you live your life through the filter of authentic faith and you never leaned on your own understanding, instead just trusted God, it would make it easy to make wise choices, to be spiritually disciplined, and to follow God's ultimate authority. The second checkpoint is the vital one, is the one that we're going to talk about this week. Others first. So check it out. This checkpoint is the most unnatural checkpoint in all of the 7. It's the one that goes so against what our emotions tell us, what our experience tells us, and especially what culture tells us. Listen, none of us naturally think about others before we think about ourselves. And I'm sure that almost every one of us have had an experience where someone's used us because we put them before us. And more than that, culture teaches us to look out for number 1, to do what makes you feel right, you only have to answer to yourself. This checkpoint is so against what we see, hear, and experience every day that we would never think of doing this on our own. But look at what the Apostle Paul says in Philippians. In chapter 2, verse 3, it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourself. Each of you should not look to your own interest, but to the interest of others. Your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus, who being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped." Now, what does that mean? It means that if we are Christ followers, that we have to strive to have an attitude. And what was his attitude? One of humility. Listen, verse 6 again, it says, "Who being in very nature God." In other words, he had all the rights and all the promises that he could be first. He was the most important person in the room. He was higher than everybody else, but he did not consider equality with God something to be grasped. Literally, even though he was the most important person, he still put others before himself. Now that's difficult because, see, for us, most of the time we just want to be more important than everybody else. Jesus was, yet he decided to put others first. Listen, if you would decide to put everyone else before yourself at school or at home or at work, how would your life be different? I'm sure you would have healthier relationships because you wouldn't be looking for your friends to make your life better or situation better. You'd be looking to make theirs better. Moral boundaries wouldn't be an issue because you wouldn't be selfishly trying to get your boyfriend or girlfriend to do what you want them to do. See, when we have authentic faith, we trust God more than anything else, even ourselves, and then decide to put others first, everything else will be easier to live out. But it takes 2 very hard decisions first. Hopefully you've already made the decision about to put all your faith and your trust in Jesus, in God through Jesus, but maybe you haven't decided to live others first. So before we go to small group, let me explain to you what it means to have an others first life. It simply means that in every relationship, you consider others before yourself. That's what it means to live others first, to have the attitude of Christ.